Welcome to In It to Win It. This is Steve Barton, and thank you for tuning in. We are here for Monday Market Moves, what happened last week in the markets, and what we expect for next week. And thank you for allowing us to do work that we find meaningful. Thank you for giving us the most valuable commodity you have, your attention. We promise to do our very best to give you a return on it. Alrighty, let's go to the charts. Starting out as always with the S&P 500. It's pretty much flat for the week, and it's just been hitting along this 10 and 20 moving average. On Friday, it came down, kissed it, and looks like all systems are go until it breaks and has a close below this 200 moving average. It's all systems go for the market. And we could see here, it's kind of starting to put in a bit of a rounding pattern here. So it does look like it's losing some steam. It does look like it's going to roll over here sooner rather than later. But until we get a close below, like a weekly close below that 200, it's just we're all systems go. All right, and the dollar shot up. We saw last week that it had this super reversal bar right here. That played out and it moved to the upside. Initial resistance here is going to be the 50 and the 200 moving average. So that's a lot of resistance for the dollar to power through. I would say that it's probably going to go up in the short term and kiss that, and then we'll see what the bars look like on that. But I mean, it hit perfectly right here in this retracement and bounced up. Wouldn't surprise me at all if it touches up on this 200 moving average and then goes back down kind of in this zone here. But for the first few trading days, it looks like it's going to go up. Yields. The Fed is having their meeting on, when is it? On Wednesday. And so basically this is what the Vegas odds have it at. So on the 20th, they're meeting. 98% of traders believe that they're going to continue to pause. Only 2% think that they're going to cut. And it isn't until we go out into June that we have the majority of traders thinking that the cutting will have started. But time will tell. Time will tell. All right, so yields have shot up on the week. The 2-year yield went from 4.5 to about 4 3/4. The 10-year yield went from about 4 to 4.3. And the yield curve is kind of grinding sideways here, but we fully expect that it would make a lot of sense if this were to continue to grind up or down, maybe sideways, and then get caught by this purple 200 moving average right here until we can exit clown world by getting above this white line. And the 1-month treasury still paying north of 5%. Lovely place to store your cash, risk-free. TLT, still waiting on this bet to iron out. Looks like we might be getting a bit of a, well, you could call that almost a triple or quadruple bottom, depending on what time frame you're looking at it here. If we go on the weekly, might iron out to be a double bottom. We'll see. But it did break down below that 200 moving average. So looking like there might be a little bit more downside on the on TLT in the 20. All right, and gold is actually starting to roll over here. So we stopped making new all-time highs every day. That couldn't go on forever. And next major support we have is down here around 2090, 2080, somewhere around in there. Actually, let's bring this up right here. So here's the gold divided by S&P 500. How many shares of the S&P 500 you could get for 1 ounce of gold? Right now it's 0.42. We fully expect this to get around 1-to-1, and then we can trade maybe some of our gold back into the S&P 500 once this value gets a little bit more down to earth. I mean, here's the long-term portfolio, and we think that this point right here is probably around here somewhere, and then it'll start to reverse. But GDX is interesting. Okay, so this one has gold went down 1%, but GDX went up almost 1% for the week, and GDXJ went up about 2% for the week. So even though gold went down slightly, these two moved up just a little bit, but they do look like they're kind of putting in a topping pattern here. If you think that gold is more likely to go down in the next few weeks than up, a way you could play that is you could play the DUST, and this is a 2x inverse. Basically, it's a reverse of GDX. So take a look at GDX chart, see how it goes like that. And now imagine this screen getting flipped upside down, and that's essentially what the dust is. Okay, so if you think that gold is going to move down, you can place a bet on this, and this will be a 2x to the upside. Now, this is not something that you want to hold over a long term. You can see going back to 2010, when this is formed, it's just absolutely getting eaten away by time and by fees. So this is short term. This is not something you just buy and hold. You will lose your shorts. And the same way with JDST is you would be able to do a 2x inverse on GDXJ. So that's another way that you could play a hedge, a short-term hedge on your account. If you have a lot of gold and you think that there may be a short-term pullback, this might be a way to generate a little bit of cash flow. The way we did that was the GLD. We took a bearish put spread on GLD. And so this is basically what we're seeing is if we look at gold here, it looks like gold's kind of putting in a topping pattern, looking to roll over. This is the hourly, and we can see that it broke below the 200 hourly. And if we look at the 30-minute, it broke below the 400 on the 30-minute. There is a decent amount of support about where it's at now, about 2155, 2160, somewhere in that range. You have a lot of back support here. But I think the chart is generally breaking down. And then if we take this paper gold over here, the GLD, one of the most traded ones, you can run, there's lots of options available for this. Everyone's betting on this thing. But basically we think that gold is probably going to move down over the next month or two. And all we did was we just took a put on that expires in June. All right, Victoria wants to know about what do you think about buying Canadian gold miners ETFs such as GLCC? Okay, they give good dividend of future calls. Any thoughts about the 6 to 12 month price? Okay, so basically, I think what this fund is doing, I looked it up real quick, and well, here I could just share my screen and we could look it up together. Okay, so here we go. Here's some of their holdings. Here's the top 10. Most of them are in Canada, South Africa, a little bit in the US and the UK. We got Anglo, Goldfields, Agnico Eagle, Barrick, Kinross, Newmont. I'm not as hot on this one as I am some others, but if this is one of your options that you can bet on from where you're at, why not? I don't particularly care for the big Kinross allocation, although we do own Kinross, so maybe I'm off there, but yeah, not bad. And I think what this company is doing, or what this fund is doing, is I believe they're basically writing a bunch of covered calls and then getting paid a premium on it. So that's how their dividend is able to run so high. Is they're taking the shares that they have, they're putting them in the form of covered calls, not expecting to sell the thing, but collecting a little premium in the meantime, and you get a pretty good dividend there. So that is kind of interesting. I'd have to look more into it. But as far as on the chart of where to buy, see, when gold was down like it was just a few weeks ago, we had a nice shot up. As far as the most resistance and like an entry point, I would think around maybe 20 bucks, something like that. Don't know if it'll get there, but that's where there is a fair amount of back support, is around $20. So maybe like your first limit order there, and then another one down at like 19, and then 18, something to that effect. I hope that helps, Victoria. All right, moving on to Franco, Nevada. Love this one. This may actually be the new floor is around 110 or so. See, it shot up. I think the market is starting to realize as gold went up that Franco, Nevada is a deal. Yeah, I don't know if we'll see 104 again. If gold rolls over, maybe we will, but there's quite a bit of support around 111, 110, 112. That might be the new norm. And wheat and precious metals, we closed the vertical call spread and the option on that one last week. Looks like it's going to roll over as well, hitting on the 200-day moving average, but I don't see any entries into this at all. Yeah, there's wheat and precious metals. Gold Royalty Corporation up about 5.5% for the week. This thing is absolutely amazing. Closed at $2 for the week, above the 400-day moving average. And look at what we have down here. We even put a yellow circle on it, so we make sure that we talk about it. This is the 50-day crossing above the 200-day moving average. What is that called? That is called a golden cross, a bullish sign right here. So looking pretty good. Excited for Gold Royalty Corporation. I don't see any entries into this, yeah, liking this one a lot. Metalla Royalty kicked up for the week. Pretty exciting, up about 13%. Go Brett Heath. Again, I don't see any entries into this. If anything, there's a whole bunch of resistance here. We'll see what gold does. Origin Royalties. This thing's pretty much down slightly for the week. Really looking forward to this one. This one's from the Rickroll Boot Camp. And Danny wants to know about EMX royalties. Kind of an interesting point right here. So this is on the daily. We had a bit of a 2B bounce right here, a double bottom, and then shot to the upside on Friday. Now, fairly small market cap, not quite 200 million. There's a lot of insider ownership. So like this one a lot. CEO David Cole. This was also in the Rick Rule boot camp, and the reason I didn't get it isn't super scientific. I just don't have enough time to study all these companies, or I probably would have got this one as well. I just like Gold Royalty just a little bit more, so that's where we put our capital. As far as an entry point, I want to see these technicals get washed out just a little bit more. Let's take a look at the weekly here. Shot above the 400. That's good. There is this, it looks like it's flatlining on the 200 there. 200 daily sloping down. I want to see this correct just a little bit more. See how high the technicals are up here? RSI 60, MACD's way in the clouds. We want to start to see some red on here and then a sloping up, and then that's where I'd be looking for an entry point. But if we go back, look at some back support back here. Yeah, maybe your first limit order around like 145 or something like that as a starter position. That might be one. All righty, and Newmont. Newmont's basically flat for the week. Didn't move up much, didn't really move down much. Starting this topping pattern, we may get some more entry points as time goes on. A lot of buying on Friday, 53 million shares, that's pretty impressive. But does look like it's going to kind of roll over a little bit, especially if gold goes down. Barrick Gold, same kind of thing, also flat for the week. I would expect this one to roll over if gold does as well. And Agnico Eagle, our little darling, this thing is just amazing. Right when you think it can't go up anymore, it does. I'm not sure why this is performing so much better than the other two, but we're grateful for it because it's one of our bigger positions. So Agnico Eagle, don't see any buys here. I'd wait for some of these technicals. I mean, look at the RSI 70. Look at this MACD, look at the stochastic, just way, way up in the clouds. So while the other two were flat for the week, this one was up 2.6%. G Mining Ventures, this one, another Rural Boot Camp one in his developers boot camp. This one actually kind of looks like it might be setting up like a cup here. This is kind of interesting. So I suppose you could say that this might be a little bit of a cup pattern right here with the handle and then the breakout. And we might be forming up another cup right here. We'll see what happens. If this starts to slope down, we might actually be getting into something here for another cup pattern. This needs to be at least 7 weeks wide. If you go by conventional technical analysis for a cup pattern, and we're right about there. So we'll see what this irons out as. And Lon wants to know, Steve, how are you feeling about Rio 2? Do you think the price of gold going up, that they will start getting capital invested into the company to get operations up and running by the fall? Is this a good entry point? I have no idea, Lon. I have no idea. We interviewed the CEO, and he was basically like, "Yeah, it's tough to raise money in this environment because gold juniors are just in the dumps." So I would go by a technical entry here, and I think kind of anywhere around 24, 25 cents, something like this. This is over the counter. This is not on the Canadian exchange, but yeah, I would be looking kind of around the bottom of this little pattern right here. Maybe you get lucky and get 23, 24, something around there for a starter. We're in this thing way back here over 50 and 55 cents. So whatever you buy it at will be cheaper than what we got. But I'm not necessarily looking to add any more until I find out more about this company. But if you can go back and watch our interview with Alex, and the man is tenacious. I will say that. I think he's actually going to do it. So we'll see. All righty. And Tomo says, Cartier Resources. I am not familiar with this company. Okay, so extremely small market cap. We've got 27 million. Most of that is, well, a third of it is held by, unavailable to us retail. They're a exploration company of gold up in Canada. This is the Canadian, the Toronto Stock Exchange. And as far as an entry point here, I can't speak to any fundamentals on this, but as a technical trader, I can't help but notice that we're kind of down at like all-time lows here. I mean, maybe if you got it at 6 cents, it would be slightly better. This is the over-the-counter, basically the same chart, but dealing in cents instead of Canadian cents, and kind of the same thing. Maybe a limit order around 4 or 5 cents, something to that effect. If you're on the Canadian exchange, maybe a limit order around 6 or 7, but pretty low here. So I would get with someone who knows the fundamentals on this. We don't, but as far as a technical entry, that's about as cheap as it's gotten. Not to say it can't get cheaper, but if I had to only trade this on technicals, that's where I would do it. All right, and silver is up 3.3% for the week. Pretty exciting here. We're tapping on the door of 26, which is a major resistance line. Okay, so for silver, let's say gold rolls over next week, silver's going to go down with it. It's not hitting 26. If gold continues to go flatlined or possibly up, then we are probably going to hit 26 here. So really exciting for the metal, but the technicals are getting pretty stretched. Look at in the daily here, we got 71 on the RSI. That's pretty high. MACD's shooting up, stochastics up. I would expect if gold rolls over, this will too. And SILJ, we sold the option last week. Probably should have held a little bit longer. We made 40-something%, but it looks like we would have doubled that if we hung on. I don't remember the expiration date on this, but I think we had a bit of time. We probably should have let this one run just a little bit. But yeah, excited for silver. Very excited for silver. Copper, this one is impressive. It's up about 6% for the week. And now here's where our leverage bets come in, the COPX and COPJ. COPX is up over 9%, and COPJ is up almost 10% for the week. So the silver miners outperforming the metal itself. But as far as copper here, looking like we're hitting on some resistance. I mean, just follow this little green line back here. Here, I'll make it white so it'll be easier for you to see. But there's quite a bit of resistance just around $4 for this thing. A lot of price action right there. So we got to chew through that. And then once we pass through that, then we've got some more about $4.30 or so. But I think $4 copper is going to kind of be the new norm. It could be wrong. We'll see. All right, Arizona Metals, it's down about 6% for the week, but I gotta say, if we go out to the hourly here, we might be coming in on a turnaround. So I just highlighted this. I'm gonna get rid of this because this is just confusing. Come on, what's going on with this thing? There we go. All right, now yellow line moves above the purple, golden cross. Unfortunately, the 200 hourly is still sloping down. Same case with the 200 daily, but we might have caught a bottom here. Maybe 122, 120 was the bottom. Is starting to angle up a little bit, but am excited about this golden cross in the hourly here. If we can start to catch a bid, then it looks like it's going to move up. And uranium, well, there we go, daily. Uranium fell out of bed, got into the low 80s, closed the week at about $86 a pound. I think there's some traders in here that are taking profits and selling back and forth to each other. As far as anything fundamental with this, I do not believe that uranium is going to have the price spike that it did back in 08. I think that this is probably going to be more of a long-term kind of drawn out, slowly grinding up bet here. And yeah, I think that's the way that uranium's probably going to play out over the long term. All right, Sprott Physical Uranium Trust, they added 100,000 pounds to their, where is it? There it is. Added 100,000 pounds. Last week, this number was a 5. And look at the discount. It's gone in the last couple of weeks from, 14, 15% discount to, they must have gone just quickly above to a premium. Then they added 100,000 pounds, took it off the market. Maybe that's what moved the spot price from 83 to 85. I don't know. But still trading at a tiny bit of a discount. Don't see any buys right now. I think the buys were the last couple of weeks. But very exciting with the Sprott Physical Uranium Trust. I think as this spikes down, maybe you can get some spot for south of $20. I think is a pretty good deal. Keep in mind, each one of these new bets we're placing in here, we're not selling for at least a year. So we believe this is going to play out over 2024, especially with Kazatomprom and Cameco not producing as much as they forecast. We drew this last week as kind of a bear flag, and it looks like it played out. It broke down to the downside. Now, what we're seeing here was this bar right here is on Friday, and it's a bearish engulfing. So if we zoom in on this, you can see that the previous bar right here, the price action was there to there. And then the next day's action, it went above that and below that and closed below it. So a bearish engulfing, maybe you can see it better with the candle here. See how it just eats up all the action of the previous day? That's generally bearish, and it did go down. Same thing with a lot of the other uranium sector, not necessarily with Kazatomprom, but notice how Cameco came down, hit the 200-day moving average and bounced up. We'll see if it continues to follow that 200-day and rides it up. I would expect it would. Kazatomprom had a sell-off moment for a hot minute and then shot right back up. So let's see what it looks like on the 30-minute. How long was it down there? Oh, it was down there for a little bit. Yeah. Okay. So there was time to catch that. We didn't, and we're not going to add any more. We got a lot. Yeah, like Kazatomprom, URA, same kind of thing, this bear flag pattern, right? Bearish engulfing, and then it moved to the downside. Same thing with URNM, right? Bear flag, bearish engulfing on Friday, moved down, didn't quite hit the 200 moving average, bounced up. We'll see what it does next week. Maybe if it starts to bounce along this 200 moving average, that might create more entry points. We're a little biased in uranium because we've sold enough to where it doesn't cost us anything. We're in for free. URNJ, so this is interesting. If we put a little line right across right here, there's a fair amount of support right where this is at, or maybe a little bit below it. But see all the price action right along here? That lines up with where it IPO'd. Interesting. Yeah, maybe if it starts grinding sideways here along this, that might create another entry point. Uranium Royalty Corporation. Love this one. We put in 2 trades right here. This one, we got stopped out when it got down to 136, and then it shot back up. We kept the option on, which doesn't expire until October, I believe. Yeah, October. So we're going to keep the option on that. This was a little, this was a bit of a bummer. We thought that uranium itself, these followed the spot price so much. And, I think a lot of people don't understand the long-term contracts. And I think they're trading these things based on the spot market and not the real market, which is the term market now. But technically, this did break down. We go to the 200 weekly, we go to the 50 weekly, and see how it just busted through that. Not good. Then we go to the daily, and it blew through the 200 daily and the 400 daily. Not good. But hopefully this reverses. If the spot price continues to climb up like it did the last couple of days, then I think this will be a leverage bet on that, which is literally what we're betting on. All right. Uranium Energy Corporation, you'll see a lot of these charts are kind of looking the same for uranium. Looks like it might be catching some support here around $6 or so. We'll have to see more price action on this. And then the 4Us, Energy Fuels, we placed an option on that. And just looking at all the back support back here and our belief that uranium will move higher in the next month or two, we have an option in on this one. And Joe Warren. Oh, Joe, I got your email. The MMM is short for Monday market move. So all I was saying is if you put your companies in the comments of these Monday market move shows, that's where I pull them for the next week. Okay, so SRM. All right, so this is NuScale. They're basically building a bunch of small modular reactors, and this thing is at a monumental run. And I don't know where you got in, Joe, but let's say that we were trading this and we got in on this double bottom right here. I mean, this was around $2 where your entry would have been. And let's say you've just held for this point. I know I'm assuming a lot here, but you're up over 300%. What you could do here is what we love to call, and we got from Rick Rule, is go to the point of no concern. Basically, you sell the shares that you sell enough shares to recoup your initial investment, pay your taxes, and maybe pay yourself just a little bit, and then the rest of this is free. Like we did back here with Global Atomic when the coup happened and we were able to snag this thing at $1 a share and then sell it a few weeks later for $1.50 a share. We paid for, we got our initial investment back, we paid our capital gains taxes, and then we took just a little bit more just because, and now the rest of this we have for free. So, who was asking about that? Rolf was asking, what's the definition? What's the defining the point of no concern? He says, I find that compelling, though my main investing strategy is primarily long-term compounding where I wouldn't want to disturb the process. Totally get that. Would love to hear your thoughts. That's basically it right there, Rolf, is get to the point, you know, when we were in uranium, there was a lot of risk there. You know, another Fukushima could have happened and it would have completely grenaded our account. You know, people hated the commodity. You know, no matter how many people I told about uranium and the supply demand dynamics and the deficit that we're facing, no one cared. Now those same people are coming back to me and asking about uranium and how to invest in it. Those same exact people that a year and a half ago didn't want to give me the time of day. Okay, so the investment has changed, and I want to be paid for that time that we were in a hated commodity, and now it's a tolerated commodity, right? So I've removed the initial investment, paid the taxes, and paid myself just a little bit more, and now the rest is on the table for free to ride out this the rest of the bull market, which is probably going to take another 5 years. All right, Ham wants to know about URNJ. Let's see, what are the financials on this? Okay, 400 million market cap, limit orders only. John Cash is the, oh yeah, exploration. Okay, technical entry here. Now, I have not looked at any drill holes. I don't know anything about this company, but as far as a technical entry, decent amount of support where we're at now. I would like to see this sold off a little bit, maybe kind of touching on the 200 weekly here would be interesting. So I don't really see any entry points as of right now. Maybe kind of getting into this Fibonacci a little bit, kind of around the 50 weekly. What does it look like in the daily? That would line up pretty nice if it came back over here. And it is on the 200 daily now, I will say that. Okay, with a reversal bar to the upside. Maybe this isn't a bad entry point. Okay, I'd like to see it get down to the 200 weekly, like we said, or we could have some type of double bottom here maybe on the 200. That would line up pretty nice with this retracement, and you'd be hitting on the 200. We basically want to see this repeated with a reversal bar that looks like that. I think if that happened, I would be much more comfortable getting into this, maybe a starter position now. But those are going to be your main levels of support here. If it breaks down past this, then I would be looking at the 400. Technicals are a little stretched. I don't quite see an entry point right now. Yeah, I'd want to let this one kind of iron itself out just a little bit more and kind of look for maybe a little bit more of a double bottom there, Ham. All right, moving on to oil. Closed the week at, let me get this out of the way. Closed the week at 81.04. It's riding above the 200 monthly, above the 200 weekly, and above the 200 daily. That is fantastic. And I had that yellow circle in here because if we zoom out on this, we can see that there is kind of an inflection point here. Okay, so I put the floor around $68 here for oil, and then I put this resistance line up here around 84. And we'll notice that we have this downward channel trend line right here that hits once, twice, 3 times, and it all kind of converges on this one point right here. So I think in the next, now this isn't a super strong trend line, it's only 3 points. You know, once you start getting up to 6, 7 points, then it holds a lot more weight, but this is something. And I think we're going to enter kind of an inflection point right here around $84, probably in the next couple of weeks. It wouldn't surprise me at all if oil touched on that and then went back down. But we have a lot of support underneath it, but I think this is a pretty interesting inflection point right here. And if it breaks through, I think that'll be very bullish. Time will tell. XLE. Oil was up 4%, and so was XLE, our favorite oil ETF, is getting very stretched. I mean, look at the daily RSI here. It's at 76. MACD's way up there. Stochastics in the clouds. What's it look like on the monthly or on the weekly? Weekly, same kind of thing. Pretty stretched. Probably going to have a short-term pullback here soon in oil, although if we don't, we will not complain. ExxonMobil closed the week at 111.27. Love this one. This is the best oil company on the planet. And it's, yeah, looking super bullish. Wouldn't surprise me at all if we get a little bit of a correction here just because the technicals are so stretched, but not looking to add any right now. Happy with the position. Blackstone Minerals, flat for the week. We took out an option last week or the week before. For, I think it went out to almost a year. Yeah, it did. January of next year. If this just kind of rides like this up this line, we'll be pretty happy. Would love to see a price spike and then we'll bounce out of the option. But like Blackstone a lot. And freehold royalties. Sorry, I forget who asked about this one, but I put it down. This is on the Toronto Stock Exchange. This one is for the Americans over the counter. I do not know the tax implications of this for Americans, but if you're in Canada, this is the one you want instead of Blackstone. And let's see, I think a decent support line around 1360, 1350, somewhere around in there might make for a nice limit order. And on the over the counter, a lot of low volume on this. So don't, I mean, sometimes you have almost no trading on this one. $10, something like that. That might be your first entry. All right, and Woodside also did an option on Woodside, and just coming into a double bottom here. These green ones are our long-term holds here. Coming into a double bottom here and bounced a little bit off that. Hopefully, if it repeats what this green arrow did right here, this option will do very, very well. And Petrobras, all right, Feedback wants to know about Petrobras. Just dropped out of the sky here, bad earnings. But as far as an entry, I see why it fell to this line. You guys can see all the price action right along that point right there. Let me just move this down to where the price action is now. This is interesting. So it's down at the levels that it was in the 08 GFC. I mean, with the dividends that they're paying, doesn't look terrible. It's hitting on the 50 weekly, broke through the 200 daily. That's not good. Hourly, is this a turn? Basically, you're asking, are we calling the bottom here in Petrobras? No, I don't think so. I think it's got a little bit more room to go. Just because it broke through this 200 daily, but maybe a limit order around 1350, somewhere in that range. I would let this one iron out a little bit, maybe wait for a double bottom on this. But technicals are pretty stretched. I mean, look at this, RSI way down there, 30. That's kind of the buy zone. But I want to see this MACD start to turn up. Like once this starts turning up, and you'll start to get in the shorter duration time frame, see how you're just starting to get that one little blue dot right there. That's kind of the your signal. Natural gas is down 7% for the week. The bets we're placing on that is Devon and Equitable. Don't see any buys in Devon here, although super happy with the position. It's got above the 200-day moving average. It's a pretty bullish looking chart. When I go to the hourly on this thing, I mean, this looks like the, this kind of looks like the S&P 500 right now on the daily, right? It just seems to be obeying this 10 and 20 moving average. So loving Devon. Equitable fell out of the sky, got a limit order down in here for $32. Hopefully it hits. Yeah, we want to see it line. I might need to up that just a tiny bit. See, I'm trying to catch this one right here, and it looks like it's just north of 32. So maybe we'll up that limit order just a tiny bit, but this would create a double bottom and maybe an entry point. Coal is actually doing what Matt Warder said, and it's starting to roll over a little bit. Thermal coal closed the week at 130, and met coal closed the week at 284. Getting closer and closer to that 250 target. We actually placed some starter positions here in the coal ETF COAL. We're actually getting some volume and some money moving into this. The market cap of this has doubled in the last few weeks. Now, doubled is not a whole lot. The market cap was 1 million. Now it's almost 2 million. So it has doubled, yeah, but it's still very, very small. We need more and more money to come into this thing. But just putting some little starter positions in here, you know, if we're betting $100, each one of these is like 3. Okay, so just little starter positions to get us in this thing. And hopefully we get some kind of pattern here that's tradable. It has traded at a little bit of a discount a couple of days, but most of the time it's trading at a slight premium to net asset value. So pay attention to that. You can look it up on their holdings. And Glencore, really excited about this one. It's up about 15% in 2 weeks. So that last limit order that everyone set for 950 is looking extremely well. We're actually in the black on this one now because the lower we went, the more shares we bought. Is getting kind of stretched in the technicals here. I mean, RSI, MACD, stochastic, all pretty high. So it wouldn't surprise us at all if it hits on this 200-day moving average and rolls over. And Alpha Metallurgical Resources. Okay, you want to play some met coal. This is how you do it. This is Matt Warder's top pick. Okay, so we had limit orders for 350, 325, both hit. And we got one last one in here. Well, not going to be the last one, but we got one in here for 265, not real scientific, just lining up with the 200-day moving average. I don't even know if anyone cares about that, but it, yeah, this is looking pretty cool. Excited about this one. Hopefully this continues to get washed out and we can get it even cheaper. And Bitcoin is at 67,000. Looks like it's starting to roll over a little bit. So it made all-time highs and then kind of rolled over a little bit. Let's see what this looks like in the 30-minute. Yeah, looking kind of like it's going down. Got a bit of a double bottom right there. But I would expect, I mean, that's pretty dang stretched. Maybe this will end up forming up like a huge cup and handle pattern here. Well, not as big as gold's, but, you know, a few year cup and handle pattern. We'll see. It wouldn't surprise me if this kind of started angling down, then maybe that might actually take a position on it. I don't know. We'll see. Platinum closed the week at 943.50. looking pretty good. It's up about 3%. Like kind of anywhere around this trend line right here around, you know, mid to high 800s is a decent buy. We do have this downward sloping trend line right here that it's got to bust through. Platinum is above 1,000. It's at 1,090. So don't really see any entries into this other than the only one we're really playing here other than PPLT, the Platinum Trust, is the SPPP, the Sprott Physical Platinum and Palladium Trust. And yeah, it's up over $10 right now. Our last orders were at $9.39 and $9.07. There was another tick down here if you could catch it in $8, but this is excuse me, this is going to have to take some time. We'll see what happens with Russia, South Africa, and Zimbabwe. All right, iron ore. Here's iron ore. This has basically been getting killed the last couple of months. And here is VALE. We placed an option on VALE, and all we're doing is just lining up some back support right back here, and it hit again. Hopefully it complies. BHP, if we overlay iron ore onto BHP, we can see, I can't remember what listener turned me on to this, but someone did, that BHP, not only is it well correlated with copper, it's really well correlated with iron ore. Iron ore has been getting hit. BHP has been getting hit, probably because China is doing less construction, and they're one of the main importers of steel. But if iron ore turns around, then this should do quite well. This option may expire worthless. We probably should have taken it out further. Rio. Now we're actually adding back to our long-term position in Rio. Let me get the iron ore out of there, but you can see that iron ore correlates with Rio very, very well as well. Close this out. There we go. All right, so we placed a limit order at, I think, $62. It hit at $61.92. Next limit order is $60. Next one after that is $58.50, and we're just lining up with back support back here. This company pays great dividends. Hopefully, they did have a bad earnings call, but didn't quite hit expectations. But I think over the long run, this one's going to do very well. And random options, we took one on Pfizer. We made about 30-something% move. That was a fun one. And we also took out an option here on Unity Software. It doesn't expire until June. Our trading partner, Eric, liked this one a lot on the fundamentals. I don't know anything about software, let alone tech, but I saw that the technicals lined up really well here, and so did Daniel, and so we took an option on it. All righty, well, I hope you guys got something out of that. Thank you for always being here. If you want to sign up for Rick Rule's next boot camp, there is a link down in the pinned comment below. I'll also be going out to Boca Raton for the Rule Symposium. Would love to see you guys out there and meet you face to face. It'll be a lot of fun. If you didn't catch the interview with Rick, we'll put a link up here and you can watch it. Thank you for tuning in. Hit the like and subscribe, and share this with anyone that you think needs to hear it. Probably your buddy that can't stop talking about tech stocks. You have yourself a great rest of the day, and we will talk to you next time.